Hey loves, it's Nurse X. Back with another video. Welcome back to my channel if you're new here. I wanted to share with you guys the story of when I first cried at my job and why. So yes, I cried at my job. It happens, guys. It happens to several nurses, doctors, PAs, pharmacists. It is okay. So just a little background. I am a labor and delivery nurse. I've been one for the past 2.5 years now. And so that's the context or the setting of the story. So I had got to work and I was laboring a patient. I want to say it was like her second baby, and she was progressing quite quickly. She had an epidural in place. So I went ahead and checked her because she started to feel pressure, like she wanted to push, and she was about 8 centimeters. So for those of you who don't know, you have to be 10 centimeters to start pushing. So like I said, she was moving quite quickly and she's getting closer to being ready to deliver. So when I checked her, I went ahead and called the doctor, told him how frequently she was contracting, told the doctor that she was 8 centimeters dilated, and then reminded him that it was her second baby. Next thing you know, my patient's starting to feel even more pressure. I check her and she's 10 centimeters. So I call the doctor back again, let him know that she's 10 centimeters and feeling the urge to push. And we go ahead and start getting the room set up for delivery. The tech usually helps us with that, helps us with this. About, I want to say 5 or 10 minutes later, he comes by. We go into the delivery and he doesn't gown up quite yet. He just has the patient push. And this is, this is not necessarily abnormal. Sometimes the provider wants to see how well the patient pushes before they put their gown on and their sterile gloves. Well, the patient pushes like once and the baby's like flying out at this point. So he's trying to like hurry up and gown up. And I noticed the baby's head is starting to come out. So I catch the baby with my gloved hand. He ends up putting the rest of his glove on. He ends up catching the rest of the baby. The rest of the delivery goes smoothly, or so I think. And we start cleaning up for the delivery. Sorry, y'all. I'm not the best at telling stories. I'm trying my very best. So fast forward to me leaving the patient's room. And I had the tech pull me to the side. And she goes, Aggie, like, I hope this stays between me and you, but I just really wanted to pass this on that the doctor came to me complaining about you. Like, the doctor that was just in there with us? She goes, yes. He said I had an attitude. He had asked if they had any problems with me on the floor. He asked me for my name, like my first and last name. He said he's going to be asking other doctors if they've had problems with me. And then he goes, I've had this problem with her before in the past. So when she said that, I was like thinking, in the past, I know why he's saying this. So let me rewind a little bit to several weeks prior, where I was taking care of one of his patients who had came in at noon that same day for rule out labor. So like I said, she came in at noon. I don't come into work until 7 p.m. I work night shifts only, so 7 p to 7 a. So I got a report from the nurse from day shift. She told me that the entire day they had been calling this provider, asking for orders, and he insisted he was coming in and that he would assess the patient and give orders, okay? So they had called like 3 or 4 times, and each time he gave the same answer, and he would seem annoyed by the nurse that they would be calling him again, even though the patient had been there for 7 hours and we were doing absolutely nothing with her. So I go into the patient's room, I apologize, and they completely understand that the nurses have done everything that they can, and they're more upset with the doctor. Eventually the doctor comes around, I think it was 8 p.m. at this time, and he goes into the room, and like the patient and their family said, they essentially go off on the doctor. They wrote down all the times that we called him, and they're like, yeah, you say you're coming in at this time, we've been here all day and nothing's happened, she's uncomfortable, she's hurting, yada yada yada. And so that happens, and I'm just sitting at the computer like, I'm just silent. I'm on the computer just charting. Like, I come back out to the nurse's station, and he comes out there as well to chart. And he is, I guess, embarrassed that the patient and her family went off on him, and his way of coping is to complain about the family. And he's saying to me, oh, they're just ridiculous, the patient's just being dramatic, they don't act like that in the office, and that the patient's mom is like egging the patient on. And I'm guessing that he wants me to agree with him, because he's telling this to me. All I said to him was, well, you know, Dr. Blank, I think they're just upset and frustrated that they've been waiting all day for care and they haven't received it, and the patient's getting more uncomfortable and her contractions are getting closer and more painful. And he looks at me like shocked that I didn't agree with him and that I actually challenged his thoughts, but he didn't really say anything else after that. And so that was that. Fast forward to the day where the doctor's complaining about me, saying I had this attitude and saying that he's had this problem with me before in the past. I'm pretty sure he's talking about that incident where I was advocating for my patient, which I will never ever regret. He was more upset that I wasn't agreeing with him. I'm like taken aback, like, wow. And I asked her, I was like, do you think I had an attitude in the delivery? Because I mean, she was in there with me. So I was like, am I tripping? Because like, I thought it was a great delivery. Like, I thought it was great teamwork. I thought everything went smoothly. And she was like, no, I didn't see any attitude from you. Like, I don't know why he's saying this. As she's telling me all this, like, I am welling up with emotion because this never has happened to me before, where a doctor complains about me. And I think I was most hurt by the fact that it was to someone else, and that he was almost threatening my reputation at the hospital. Like I said, I've never had any issues with any doctors before in the past. Even with nurses, like, I have pretty good relationships with everyone that I work with. So it was just very hurtful for someone to say this about me, knowing that it's absolutely not true. And so I went into the break room, and before you know it, I'm like, I can't even control my tears. And like I said, it's mostly because I was just hurt by this provider and the fact that he was going behind my back to talk about me and threatening my reputation here. So I go home that morning, and I remember calling up my mans and telling him the whole story, and he's like, you know, you need to talk to your supervisor about this, which was the best advice ever. The next time I was at work, I told my supervisor that I really need to talk to her, and I told her the entire story. And I was actually really relieved by her response, because she said that they've had several complaints about this provider and that they think that he needs to retire. She said that even she's had a problem with him. So she said that she absolutely believes me, and we actually wrote down everything that happened just in case. I have my story already written down so they can pull it up and they can, reference it. So I was just so happy I went to my supervisor and shared that story with her, because y'all, I was just so confused, so blown away, so appalled by this whole situation. But I haven't had any problems with him. Actually, funny enough, he's been like extra friendly to me since then. Deep down, I'm salty because I know what you said about me, so I kind of was avoiding him. I would be cordial with him. And I haven't had any problems. I haven't heard anything negative said about me by providers or by nurses. So I'm hoping that's in the past. But I really share this story for two reasons. One is to share that it is perfectly okay to cry at work every once in a while. I'm pretty sure it happens to every health professional. And also that conflict at the job or at the workplace will occur as well. And just to try to maintain your professionalism and to protect yourself by, talking to your supervisor if it's necessary, just so things won't escalate. And then thirdly, don't feel bad for advocating for your patient, because ultimately that's what he was trying to make me feel. Like, he did for a second make me question myself as a nurse, because then I started double thinking. I was like, do I have attitude? Do I come off rude to providers? I was questioning the hell out of myself. But I'm here to tell you, don't do that. Don't let anyone make you question your character. You know who you are. Just trust that and you'll be just fine. And that concludes it for this story. Please leave down below if you've ever cried at work and what that looked like. What did you do to cope? And I'm just interested in knowing, just so I know I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that's crying at my job. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.